Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you all had a really good weekend. If anything exciting happened, make sure to let me know. The only exciting thing I did this weekend was go out to get my dad plants for his birthday because he likes to garden and he can't go out and buy them himself, so I dropped them off at the house. If you did anything awesome this weekend, let me know. Otherwise, let's get right into our news story. So we're going to start reading The Emperor's New Clothes. Now, you might have heard the story before, or you might have heard a story based on this story before, but we're going to look at the Hans Christian Andersen version from 1837, okay, which sounds like a real long time ago, but I promise it still is going to deal with all of the things that we deal with now, okay? So, if you want to follow with me, this is in the material section. If you just want to listen, that's totally fine. So I'm going to do the first page on the video today, and then I'm going to post some questions as usual, and we will see where we go from there. So hopefully you guys like this one. So many years ago, there was an emperor so exceedingly fond of new clothes that he spent all his money on being well dressed. He cared nothing about reviewing his soldiers, going to the theater, or going for a ride in his carriage, except to show off his new clothes. He had a coat for every hour of the day, and instead of saying, as one might about any other ruler, "The king is in council," here they always said, "The emperor's in his dressing room." So we already have some information there, right? We already have some information on our main character. We're going to have some questions on characterization, who is going to be the emperor. So when we talk about an emperor, we're talking about a supreme ruler, right? So you guys can consider it just a king. So when we're reading it emperor, it can be in your brain just a king, okay? We also have some information on the setting. He immediately starts with saying many years ago. So we know the story takes place in the past. Now, a lot of our fables and parables are going to take place in the past, particularly because they're trying to show you a lesson from long ago that we should take to heart now. Okay, so they're kind of, many a year ago, in a time long ago, or a land far away, things like that. Those are usually where these parables and fables take place. In the great city where he lived, life was always gay. Every day many strangers came to town, and among them one day came two swindlers. They let it be known they were weavers, and they said they could weave the most beautiful, magnificent fabrics imaginable. Now that is going to be one of your vocab words in your quiz, okay? The word swindlers. So every day many strangers came to town, and among them one day came two swindlers. They let it be known they were weavers, and they said they could weave the most magnificent fabrics imaginable. Not only were their clothes and patterns uncommonly fine, but clothes made from this cloth had a wonderful way of becoming invisible to anyone who was unfit for his office, or who was unusually stupid. Those would be just the clothes for me, thought the emperor. If I wore them, I would be able to discover which men in my empire are unfit for my posts. And I could tell the wise men from the fools. Yes, I certainly must get some of the stuff woven for me right away. He paid the two swindlers a large sum of money to start work at once. So these guys tell the king that their clothes are beautiful and special, and that one of their powers is that they will be invisible to anyone who is either stupid or who is unfit for their office. So someone who doesn't deserve their title. And the king's plan is to use these clothes to figure out who is unfit to be in his office. So he knows that if his, Secretary of State or the leader of his army comes to him and can't see the clothes, then they're unfit for their job and he would need to fire them and find somebody else, that they weren't good enough, right? They set up 2 looms and pretended to weave, though there was nothing on the looms. All the finest silk and the purest old thread which they demanded went into their traveling bags, while they worked the empty looms far into the night. So these 2 guys say that they need the king to buy them all this fancy silk and all this fancy thread and all these materials to make the clothes. But anyone who's looking sees them just weaving on an empty loom. And a loom is kind of what is set up for you to weave off of. They're usually square, and they have strings that go through, and you kind of weave your material through to make whatever fabric you're trying to make. But all the materials that they get, they're just stuffing into their bags, right? And they're just faking that they're weaving on these invisible looms. And that is one of your context clues for what swindlers mean. Are these guys really doing their job or not? I'd like to know how those weavers are getting on with the cloth, the emperor thought. But he felt slightly uncomfortable when he remembered that those who were unfit for their position would not be able to see the fabric. It couldn't have been that he doubted himself. Yet he thought he'd rather send someone else to see how things were going. The whole town knew about the cloth's peculiar power, and all were impatient to find out how stupid their neighbors were. So the king wants to go check on the cloth, right? He wants to go see what he's putting all this money into. But then a little part of him is like, I don't know if I want to go look. Because if I go look and I can't see it, well, then I know that, I'm the one who's not fit for their position, or I'm the one who's a little bit stupid, right? So he wants to send somebody else to go because he's nervous. And my question to you, and this is going to be one of your discussion questions, right, is if the king sent you down to go check on the cloth, and you went down and you couldn't see anything, would you tell the king that you couldn't see anything and risk him thinking that you are unfit for your position and firing you? Would you tell him that you didn't see anything and hope that he believed you that these people are using him and not actually doing anything? Or would you lie to him and said you saw it and that it was beautiful because you want to keep your job, or not let him know that you couldn't see it because maybe you believe in all the magic and you don't want him to think that you're not good enough, or you don't want him to think that you're stupid, or maybe you don't want to think that you are? So that is going to be your short answer question. Okay, remember, there's not a correct answer. You just got to give me your opinion, what you would do, and why, and you're all good. Okay? So I hope that you guys have a good day. Remember, when you're done, you're going to have about 3 or 4 questions on this section just to get us going. And I hope you guys like this story. Thank you. I will talk to you soon. Bye.